Hi, my name is Kevin Rux. I'm a grad student at FIA, the Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy here at UCF. This is M-Shooter, a project that I have been working on in CryEngine 3 for about 2 months with no previous experience in CryEngine 3, the new Sandbox 3 SDK, which is free. And the concept of the game is that it is a top-down shooter that changes to a side-scrolling shooter whenever the player wants to. So that could be good or bad depending on how the enemies are laid out, and it's given me a lot of ideas for new mechanics and things that I could put into the game once I got the basic mechanic working, which took about 6 weeks, and I'm not sure how I survived the cut rounds that my class went through, but I did, and made it to the final date, and I worked on UI for this last update, which you will see right now at the beginning of the game, which is really cool. Scale form is included in CryEngine 3, and that means you can just make a Flash document and put it into the game. I did have a little trouble with the running speed of it. Sometimes it plays too fast, and I haven't yet figured out how to embed sound inside of the file, so it was difficult getting the sound to line up with the intro animation. Next we have the intro sequence. This is actually a track view cinematic inside the editor, and after this ends it will show you that the game goes from side view to top view, kind of hints at that, and we will start the game in top view. And when you push the A button, you go to side view whenever you want. My fellow classmate that I worked with on this, Phil Wilkes, he is responsible for all the enemy layout and all the waves, which was a challenge. As you'll see, some of the enemies, if you position them in a three-dimensional space along the same axis, will land on top of each other when you switch views. And we turned some of them sideways so that it would be more it would be better for the player to actually use the side view to fight the enemy waves. And if you put them all on the same axis when you position them, the way I move the enemies onto the player's axis when you flip views. Otherwise it would be almost impossible to hit the enemies. You'd have to manually line it up in one axis and then flip and line it up in the other axis. And you can't. It's really, really difficult. So I move the enemies into the player's plane whenever you switch views, no matter where you are. So you can always hit the enemies, and it's advantageous for the player to sometimes switch views because it's quicker to get to an enemy, or you can dodge shots, or you can hit enemies who have, you can see right there, some of them are wider from the top down, and when you turn them sideways, they're wider top down, but sideways, so they're easier to hit. And that is the basic concept of this prototype. I chose CryEngine 3 because it was difficult and scary, and no one else wanted to do it. And I don't regret that decision. It's been a lot of long hours and late nights, but it's been a really good learning experience, and I'm glad I got into CryEngine. I really like it now, and there's so much more to it that I don't know and want to look into. As you can see here, towards the end of the game, we started to make it a little harder by putting full lines of enemies across the screen. And I'd like to add a couple more levels, clean up the UI, of course. But what is every top-down shooter without a boss? So I need to add a boss, and I'd like to also use the destructible entity, which would allow me to have destructible objects and have the actual enemies break apart when you shoot them. And that's it for this update.